They mocked me for coming alone to the wedding, their champagne flutes tinkling like wind chimes in a graveyard as I pushed through the velvet ropes of the Plaza Hotel's grand ballroom. "Poor Allison," they'd whispered. The bridesmaids in their pastel taffeta skirts fanning themselves like southern belles at a lynching, still clinging to that old grudge like a bad perm. I could feel their eyes, sharp as stilettos, raking over my off-the-rack black sheath, the one I'd bought on clearance at Macy's Herald Square. Because revenge doesn't come with a trust fund. And then, just as the string quartet struck up some sanitized version of "Here Comes the Bride," he crossed the room. Ethan Hale, the billionaire tech mogul whose name graced half the Forbes 400 list, weaved through the crowd like he owned the oxygen in the air, which, let's be honest, he practically did. His gaze locked on mine, not with pity or politeness, but with the cold precision of a drone strike. The room fell silent, forks hovering midair over plates of seared foie gras. Because nobody crossed a room for Allison Reeves anymore. Not after what happened. Not after Sarah. It started 3 years ago, back when New York still felt like a playground instead of a prison yard. I was 28, fresh out of Columbia's MBA program, riding high on that post-grad buzz where every corner deli bagel tastes like caviar. I'd landed my dream gig at Hale Tech, Ethan's empire of algorithms and augmented reality glasses that promised to revolutionize human connection, while mostly just selling ads to lonely millennials. Sarah, my sister, my shadow, the one who'd borrowed my clothes since we were kids swapping Barbie dolls in our cramped Queens apartment, was my plus one to everything. We were the Reeves girls. Unbreakable. Or so I thought. Mom had died when we were teens, Dad buried in overtime at the post office. So it was us against the world. Me, the straight-A striver, her, the wild card with a laugh that could disarm a bomb. That night in the office, the one that shattered it all. We were pulling an all-nighter on the Viper project, Hale Tech's crown jewel, a neural network that scraped social data to predict consumer desires before they even knew they had them. Sarah had crashed at my desk after a bar crawl in the East Village, her eyeliner smudged like war paint, giggling about some finance bro she ghosted. "Allie, you're too good for this corporate grind," she'd slurred, spilling Red Bull on quarterly reports. I waved her off, fingers flying over the keyboard, because deadlines didn't care about sibling bonds. But when the audit flagged irregularities, millions siphoned into offshore ghost accounts, I didn't hesitate. The logs showed my user ID, my VPN tunnel, my goddamn fingerprint on the digital heist. Embezzlement. Grand larceny. The kind of charges that don't just tank your 401k, they bury you under Supermax concrete. I took the fall. Not because I was noble, God. No. Because Sarah swore it was a glitch. A hacker from Pyongyang or some Russian syndicate. And she'd fix it if I just kept quiet. You're the golden child, Allie. They'll believe you. I'll make it right. Her eyes, wide and wet, mirrored the ones she'd flashed when she accidentally wrecked Dad's truck at 16, or when she talked her way out of juvie after shoplifting Mom's pain meds. Family first, right? That's the American dream we grew up on, blood thicker than the Hudson River. So I lawyered up with a public defender who looked like he'd slept in his suit, confessed to a lesser count, negligent oversight. They called it and did 18 months at Bedford Hills. Federal time for white-collar witches like me. Inside, the days blurred into gray, yoga mats stained with desperation, group therapy circles where trust was a punchline, and letters from Sarah that arrived like clockwork at first. "Miss you, sis. Working on that fix." Love you forever. Out on good behavior, I emerged into a Brooklyn brownstone that smelled like regret and ramen noodles. My old job? Vaporized. My savings? Eaten by restitution. Friends? The kind who like your LinkedIn posts but dodge coffee invites. And Sarah?
She de-leveled up.
While I was counting push-ups in the yard, she'd schmoozed her way into Hailtech's marketing wing, using my old contacts. My forged recommendation letter I'd signed in a moment of weakness before the cuffs clicked. Now she was the queen bee, perched on the arm of a venture capitalist named Preston, all Rolex gleam and Patagonia fleece. Their engagement announcement hit my feed like a sucker punch. From queens to the altar, can't wait to say I do. #blessed. #family. I didn't plan the revenge at first. It simmered, low and steady, like the boil on a hot dog cart in July. I'd scroll through her Instagram at 3 a.m., the glow of my cracked phone screen illuminating the water stains on my ceiling. Her at rooftop brunches in Soho, toasting with mimosas that cost more than my rent. Her in a hard hat at a Hailtech gala, arm in arm with Ethan Hale himself, caption networking with the big league's girl boss. That's when I started digging. Not with a shovel, but with the skills that prison sharpened: patience, pattern recognition, the art of invisible threads. I set up a burner laptop in a public library on Flatbush, routing through Tor nodes like I'd learned from a cellmate who'd hacked banks for fun. Hailtech's public APIs were a joke, leaky as a sieve, and Sarah's digital footprint? A neon sign in a blackout. What I found first was the money trail. Not just the embezzled funds. I'd known those were hers. Funneled through dummy LLCs she'd named after our childhood cats, but the cover-up. Emails from her to Preston. Time-stamped the week before my arrest. Babe, Allie's taking the heat. We clear the decks. Then boom, wedding bells. And deeper, in encrypted chats with a shadowy fixer named Ghostwire, payments for scrubbed metadata. Planted alibis. But the real gut punch? The Viper project wasn't just predictive analytics. It was a surveillance beast, hoovering up user data to sell to the highest bidder: feds, corporations, even foreign governments. Sarah hadn't just stolen cash, she'd weaponized the code, tweaking algorithms to flag high-value targets for extortion. Targets like me, who'd been too loyal to notice the knife. That's when the hook sank in. I wouldn't just expose her, I'd unravel the whole damn tapestry. Starting with the wedding. The plaza. 500 guests, a guest list bloated with Hailtech brass and Wall Street wolves. I'd RSVP'd as Allison Reeves +0 because showing up solo was the first twist of a knife. Let them mock. Let them whisper. I'd smile through the appetizers, clink glasses at the toasts, and when the cake was cut, 3 tiers of fondant lies, I dropped the payload. A USB drive, sleek as a bullet, loaded with decrypted files, ledgers, logs. Sarah's own voice memos gloating about framing the perfect patsy. Plugged into the AV system during the first dance, it'd beam straight to every phone in the room via the venue's open Wi-Fi.
Boom.
Viral Armageddon. But Ethan Hale crossing the room? That wasn't in the script. He stopped inches from me, his cologne a mix of sandalwood and old money, extending a hand that could launch satellites. MS. Reeves, he said, voice low like gravel under tires. I've been expecting you. The bridesmaid's jaws hit the floorboards. Sarah, radiant in her Vera Wang, froze mid-laugh at the head table, her bouquet wilting in her grip. Expecting me? My pulse jackhammered. Had he known all along? Or was this the first flip the antagonist I'd misread? Stepping out of the shadows to rewrite the board, I shook his hand, feeling the calluses of a man who'd coded his way from a garage in Palo Alto to penthouses overlooking Central Park. Mr. Hale, I replied, channeling every ounce of that MBA poise I'd buried under prison ink. Call me Allison. And you? What should I call the man who ruined my life? His smile didn't reach his eyes, steel gray, like the Hudson on a foggy dawn. The one who's about to give it back, he murmured, glancing at Sarah. With interest, we slipped into a side alcove, the ballroom's murmur fading to a hum behind velvet curtains. Ethan didn't waste breath on apologies. Billionaires don't do small talk. Your sister's clever, he said, pulling a tablet from his inside pocket, screen alive with redacted files. But sloppy. Viper caught her weeks ago, flagged the anomalies, traced the shells. I let it play out because I needed proof. Solid. Courtroom proof. My stomach twisted. So he'd known. Watched me twist in the wind while she danced free. Why me? I hissed. Fists clenched so tight my nails drew blood. Why not just fire her ass? He leaned in, breath warm against the chill of betrayal. Because Sarah's not the head of the snake. Preston is. Your future brother-in-law? He's the ghost wire. Been bleeding Hale Tech dry for years. Using her as bait. Weddings make people sloppy, vows loosen tongues. Champagne loosens wallets. I needed you here, Allison. The wild card. The one with nothing to lose. It hit like a freight train. I'd been played again. Not just by blood, but by the machine itself. Ethan's game was bigger, corporate espionage, maybe even treason, with Preston's VC firm laundering funds for who knows what black ops. And me, the expendable pawn, fresh from the gulag. I yanked my hand back, the alcove spinning like a bad acid trip. Screw you.
Hale.
This isn't chess, it's my life. But he grabbed my wrist. Grip iron but not cruel. It is your life. And tonight, we end it. Or hers. His eyes bored into mine, promising salvation wrapped in shrapnel. I could walk, fade back to my walk-up, nurse grudges over instant coffee till I grade. Or I could dive deeper, ally with the devil who'd built the cage, and burn it all down. The quartet swelled, Sarah's laughter pierced the curtain like a shard. Family first? Bullshit. This was America, eat or be eaten. From Wall Street to Sing Sing. Fine, I whispered, the word tasting like rust. But on my terms. Ethan nodded, slipping me a slim earpiece.
Deal.
Phase 1, the toast. As we parted, his parting shot lingered. Remember, Allison, revenge isn't sweet. It's just the bill coming due. Back in the fray, I wove through tuxedos and updos, the USB burning a hole in my clutch. Sarah caught my eye from the dais, her smile a rictus of confusion and contempt. Allie, what are you? I cut her off with a hug, stiff as a corpse, murmuring into her ear, Congrats,
Sis.
on everything you've stolen. She stiffened, perfume cloying as cyanide. The best man, Preston's frat bro clone, wrapped his knife against Crystal. To Sarah and Preston, may your love be as endless as your portfolios. Laughter rippled. My turn. Heart slamming like a jackhammer on Fifth Avenue. I raise my glass, tap water in a flute, because irony's free. To family, I said, voice steady as the subway at rush hour. The ones who stab you in the back. So you learn to watch your six. Snickers. Eye rolls. Then I palmed the USB, sliding it into the DJ booth's unattended port while the crowd clinked. The screens flickered, projector beams slicing the dance floor like searchlights. First, the ledgers, columns of zeros vanishing into Cayman accounts. Sarah's initials in the margins.
Gasps.
Whispers turning to murmurs. Preston bolted upright, face paling under the spray tan. What the hell? But Sarah was faster. Her screams slicing the air. Allison, you bitch. She lunged.
Bouquet flying.
But Ethan was there. A wall of Seville Row. His arm barring her path. Not tonight. Hemis. Reeves, he said, calm as a loaded gun. The video looped, her voice, tinny and triumphant. Allie's the perfect fall guy, smart, loyal, disposable. Phones whipped out, recording the chaos. Security swarmed, but it was too late. The tweet storm ignited, Hail Tech heist trending before the cake was wheeled in. I stood amid the wreckage. The mocking laughter flipped on its head. But as cops cuffed Preston, his Rolex glinting under flashbulbs, Sarah's eyes met mine over the melee. Not rage. Not fear. Something colder. Calculation. You think this ends it, she mouthed, lips curling like a snake's smile. Ethan's hand on my shoulder grounded me, but the earpiece crackled. Incoming. She's gotta play. The wedding wasn't the endgame. It was check. The squad cars peeled out of the plaza's porte-cochere like bats from hell. Sirens slicing the night as paparazzi flashbulbs popped like fireworks on the 4th. Preston in cuffs. Bellowing about lawyers and NDAs, Sarah trailing in her heels. Playing the distraught fiancé to the hilt. My sister. She's unhinged. While the crowd parted like the Red Sea for TMZ. I slipped out a service door. The alley reeking of garbage and garlic from the kitchens. Ethan's Bentley idling like a panther in the shadows. Get in, he said. Door already open. No please. No bullshit. Just the raw efficiency of a man who'd outsourced his empathy to algorithms. We tore up Fifth Avenue. The city lights blurring into streaks of neon regret. My hands shook, adrenaline crashing like a sugar high at Coney Island. That was sloppy, Ethan said, eyes on the rear view, voice edged with that Silicon Valley critique, always optimizing, never human. You tipped her early. She's bolting. I laughed, bitter as black coffee from a bodega urn. Sloppy? I just nuked her fairy tale wedding on live stream. That's poetry.
Hale.
American as apple pie a la mode. He didn't smile. Instead, he tossed me a burner phone. Screen glowing with a single text. Extraction point. Warehouse 17. Red hook. 0200.
Come alone, or we both fry.
Red Hook. The ass end of Brooklyn, where hipster lofts butt up against rusting docks and the ghosts of old shipyards. I'd grown up dodging syringes in playgrounds like that, back when dads over time bought us Wonder Bread and dreams of Manhattan penthouses. Sarah and I used to sneak there as teens, chain-smoking menthols and plotting escapes from our walk-ups peeling wallpaper. Now it was her bolt hole, courtesy of Preston's slush fund. She's meeting someone, Ethan explained, swerving around a pothole that could swallow a Prius. Ghostwire's handler. If we tail her, we get the full network, names, drops, the works. But if she smells you, he trailed off, the implication hanging heavy as humidity in August. Why me? I pressed, the question gnawing like a cavity. You could have sent your goons squad. Blackwater rejects or whatever you tech bros hire. He glanced over. Profile sharp against the glow of his dash cams, 3 of them, whirring like watchful eyes. Because you're clean. No ties. No traces. And because Sarah trusts you. Twisted as it is. Twisted. Yeah. That was us. Sisters bound by barbed wire. Love laced with arsenic. I'd taken the fall for her once out of loyalty. Now I'd chase her down for spite. Revenge wasn't a straight shot. It was a funhouse mirror, distorting every angle until you questioned whose reflection you were shattering. We parked a block from the warehouse. The Bentley cloaked in the kind of blackout tint that screams, "Don't look." Ethan handed me a Glock, cold, heavy, the kind that feels like borrowing the devil's right hand. Non-lethal rounds, he assured, like that made it ethical. Stun only. We're building a case, not a body count. I nodded, but my gut roiled. America loves its vigilantes, John Wick in a pantsuit, but the line between justice and jihad blurs fast when the target's family. We crept through chain-link shadows, the East River lapping like a conspirator's whisper. Warehouse 17 loomed, a behemoth of corrugated steel tagged with graffiti that read, "Gentrify this," in dripping red. Inside, it was a cavern of forgotten freight, pallets of knockoff Nikes, rusted cranes dangling like gallows. Sarah's voice echoed from the catwalks above, sharp as shattered glass. You said it was airtight. Now my wedding's a circus. And Preston's lawyered up in Rikers. A man's reply, gravelly with a Queen's accent, local muscle, not the ghost. Relax.
Doll.
The boss has contingencies. That drive your sis dropped?
Bait.
We flip it, frame Hale as the puppet master. Tech world's full of skeletons. My blood iced. Frame Ethan? They'd been steps ahead, turning my revenge into their reload. Ethan signaled, flank left. I crept right, boots silent on oil-slick concrete, the Glock slick in my palm. Up on the walkway, Sarah paced, her wedding dress swapped for jeans and a hoodie, practical, predatory. The goon, a slab of a guy with a neck tat of a coiled rattler, loomed too close, his hand grazing her arm. Boss says you're gold.
Sarah.
Loyal. But if you crack. She slapped him away, fire in her eyes, the same spark that got us both suspended for spiking the principal's coffee in high school. I don't crack. I adapt. Allison thinks she's the Avenger? Let her. We'll bury her deeper this time.
Deeper.
The word echoed, dragging up Bedford's cold bars. The nights I'd traced cracks in the wall like escape routes to nowhere. I raised the Glock, sight pinning the goon's back, finger itching on the trigger. One stunned dart, and he dropped like a sack of flour. But Sarah turned, mid-rant, her gaze snagging on my shadow. Allie.
Shock.
Then steel. She lunged for a duffel at her feet, black, bulging with who knows what cash, drives, worse. I fired. The dart whispered through the air, thwacking the goon's shoulder. He crumpled, cursing in Italian. But Sarah was already moving, diving for cover, yanking a snub nose from the bag. You traitorous cunt, she screamed, bullets pinging off metal like deadly hail. I dove behind a crate, heart thundering. Ethan returning fire from the shadows, precise pops that forced her retreat. Allison, stand down, he barked through the earpiece. But I was past reason. scrambling up the catwalk in a hail of ricochets. We collided at the top, her tackling me into a tangle of limbs and lies. "Why?" she gasped, nails raking my cheek, drawing hot lines of blood. "I did it for us. The money for Mom's treatments, Dad's debts. You are safe." Lies. All of it. I'd seen the ledgers, Chanel bags, Coachella VIPs, Preston's coke habit. But her eyes, wild, wet, held a sliver of truth. The little sister who'd braided my hair during Dad's benders. I pinned her wrists, Glock forgotten in the fray. "Safe? You let me rot. Sarah, for your happily ever after?" Ethan burst through, zip ties snapping on the goon below. But up here it was just us, sisters in the storm. She bucked, knees slamming my ribs. And for a heartbeat, I saw the flip, her pleading, me hesitating. Forgive, forget, the American myth of redemption. Hallmark wrapped. But then her free hand snaked to my throat, squeezing with a strength born of survival. "You're nothing without me," she hissed. Nothing. The word that echoed in every prison yard taunt, every rejection email. I headbutt her, forehead to nose, cartilage crunching like celery. She reeled, blood blooming on her hoodie, and I zip-tied her wrists, the plastic biting deep. "Wrong," I panted, hauling her up. "I'm everything you made me." Ethan appeared, tablet in hand, already uploading the warehouse cams to his servers. "Got the handler's ID. He's mid-level, leads to the top." Sarah spat blood, glaring daggers. "You think this wins?" Preston's got dirt on Hale, deals with the Saudis. Data dumps to Beijing. "You're all going down." The flip hit then, courtesy of Ethan's screen, a ping from the duffel. A hidden drive syncing to the cloud. Not evidence against us, against her. Preston's betrayal. Captured in memos. Sarah's useful, but disposable. Post-wedding. Cut her loose, frame the embezzlement on the sister angle for sympathy. My stomach dropped. She'd been played too. The cunning queen reduced to a pawn in her own game. Her face crumpled, not rage, but raw, ugly realization.
No.
He wouldn't. Ethan cuffed her gently, almost paternal.
He did.
"Welcome to the club." As we dragged her out, the river wind whipping like judgment, she twisted to me, voice breaking. "Allie,
Help me. Please."
we're all we've got." The plea hung. A lifeline or a noose. I paused, the Glock heavy in my pocket. Mercy? Or the final cut? Sirens wailed distant, cups closing in. Ethan's Bentley revved. Decision time. I shoved her toward the car, not to save, but to seal. "We've got nothing."
Sarah.
Not anymore. The door slammed, tires screeching into the night. But in the rear view, her eyes burned, hurt morphing to hate, promising the cycle unbroken. Revenge tasted like ash, and the flip, it left me wondering if I'd just inherited the crown. Back at Ethan's penthouse, floor-to-ceiling glass overlooking a city that never sleeps. Because it can't afford to, we piece the puzzle. Bourbon in tumblers, files splayed on a marble island like a coroner's slab. Preston's network spiderwebbed out, VC firms laundering for cartels. Hale tech data fueling election hacks. "This goes nuclear," Ethan said, pouring another round. "Feds'll raid by dawn. Your sister's the key, sing." And she walks lighter. I swirled the amber, ice clinking like chains. And me? Witness? Or whistleblower? He studied me, that calculating gaze stripping layers. Partner. Viper's yours if you want it, clean slate. Corner office. The offer dangled, gilded and grotesque.
Power.
Vindication. The American ladder. Slick with others' falls. But Sarah's plea echoed. A worm in the apple. What if I flip too? Cut a deal for her. Trade Ethan's secrets for her freedom? The room spun. Bourbon burning warnings. Dawn broke bloody over the skyline. Helicopters buzzing like vultures. My phone, the real one, buzzed, a text from an unknown. Warehouse was bait.
Meet me.
Alone. P. Preston. From his cell? Or a ghost? The flip again. Endless as the river. I pocketed the Glock, kissed Ethan's cheek, cold comfort, and slipped into the elevator. Down to the streets, where the real games played out in alleys and boardrooms. Revenge wasn't a finish line, it was a carousel, spinning faster with every turn. The text led me to a dive bar in Hell's Kitchen. The kind where the jukebox spins Springsteen covers and the bartender pours regret neat. No sign of Preston figures, the guy's too slimy for daylight. Instead, a booth in the back, shrouded in cigarette haze despite the smoking ban, held a face from my past, Tommy Ruiz, Dad's old poker buddy, now a fixer with a rap sheet longer than the Verrazano Bridge. Allie Reeves, he drawled, gold tooth glinting under neon bud signs. Grown-up mean. He slid a manila envelope across the scarred Formica. Photos. Grainy but damning. Me at the warehouse. Zip-tying Sarah. Ethan handing me the Glock. Courtesy of your bro-in-law. He's singing already.
Kid.
Framing you as the mastermind. Jilted ex. Grudge-fueled heist. Cops love it. White girl gone rogue. My blood turned to battery acid. Flipped again. Preston. The snake. Twisting from his Rikers bunk to sink us all. What's the ask? I said. Voice flat as the East River at low tide. Tommy leaned in. Breath like stale peanuts. Walk. Testify against Hale, Viper's dirty core. The surveillance state bullshit. Preston cuts you a check. 7 figures. New life in Vancouver. Sarah walks too. Family discount. The envelope burned under my fingers. Bribe or blackmail. In America, it's the same coin, flipped by whoever's got the lobbyists. I bolted before the second round. Envelope clutched like a grenade. Back in the penthouse, Ethan was on a warpath, screens ablaze with news tickers. Hale tech scandal. SEC probes. Congressional hearings teed up. They're coming, he said, pacing in boxers and a BlackBerry, looking less mogul and more mortal. Preston's feeding them everything. Twisted. Of course. You're the villain now. I tossed the envelope at his feet. Photos spilling like confetti at a funeral. Not just me.
You.
Viper's the hook. They'll gut it all. His face hardened. The billionaire mask cracking to reveal the kid from the garage. Scared of losing the empire. We locked down. Lawyers on speed dial. Private jets fueled for Caracas or Dubai. But Sarah, dragged to a federal holding cell in Foley Square, called, voice tinny through the glass partition during visiting hours. No hoodies now, orange jumpsuit, hair a rat's nest, but eyes sharp as ever. Allie, she started, pressing the receiver like a prayer. He's throwing us both under. Says I knew about the framing from jump. Co-conspirator.
Lies.
Or half-truths. Her lower lip trembled. The little sister act dialed to 11. Testify against him. Against Ethan. We flipped together, sisters sticking it to the man. The plea twisted. Venom in velvet. Walk free with her? Or burn alone? The climax hit that night. Rain lashing Manhattan like God's own piss test. Feds stormed the penthouse. Black SUVs screeching curbside. Tack vests and warrants waving like flags at a lynching. Ethan and I barricaded in the panic room. A vault of Kevlar and canned caviar. Watching the feed, agents zip-tying his staff. Hauling servers like body bags. It's over, he said, slumping against monitors. The weight of billions feeling like pocket lint. Unless. His eyes met mine. Proposal hanging unspoken. You take the deal. Preston's puppet. I go down solo. Martyr to the cause. Viper dies.
But you.
You rebuild.
Me?
The Avenger turned architect? It polarized everything. Ethan's sacrifice noble or narcissistic. Sarah's plea genuine or gasoline. Preston's web a monster or just Monday in the markets. I clutched the burner. Tommy's number glowing. One call. And the flip sealed me testifying. Sarah freed. Ethan crucified on Capitol Hill. The room's hum vibrated. A dirge for dreams deferred. But as boots thundered outside, I saw it clear, no sides. Just survivors scraping for the next hand. I smashed the burner. Shards glittering like broken promises. No deals, I told Ethan. Grabbing a tablet, last unscrambled drive. Viper's kill switch. We burn it all. My thumb hovered. Then pressed. Algorithms unraveling in cascades of code. Data dumps to WikiLeaks mirrors worldwide. The feeds exploded, headlines birthing in real time. Hail tech implodes, mass data purge rocks DC. Preston's empire?
Crumbled.
Sarah's testimony. Moot. Her accomplices scattering like roaches. The door buckled. Feds breached. Cuffs clicked, mine and Ethan's. Side by side in the chaos. But as they marched us down, rain slicked to the wagons. Sarah waited in the lobby, uncuffed. A ghost in gray sweats. Deal already cut in some backroom bargain. Our eyes locked. Hers triumphant.
Mine.
Empty. Family first, she mouthed, smirking as agents hustled her past.
No.
Just the bill. Her freedom bought with my chains. Ethan's fall paving her runway. Trial was a circus. CNN panels debating tech tyranny versus sister sin. Water cooler wars over who'd played whom. I took the stand. Voice steady. I acted alone. Viper was poison. I poisoned it back. Perjury?
Sure.
But in the crossfire.
Truth was the first casualty.
Ethan got house arrest in his Hamptons pile, slap on the wrist for the 1%. Preston? 20 to life. His VC thrown a memory. Sarah? Community service. A TED Talk on redemption in the age of algorithms, because America loves a comeback kid.
Me?
Plea bargain to 5 years. Federal camp in Florida, palms and yoga. Not bars and brawls. On release day. A letter waited. Sarah's script. Loopy as ever. Missed you.
Sis.
New start in LA, Preston's estate. All mine. Come visit? Love. S. Enclosed a check. 6 figures. For old times. I tore it up. Ashes scattering on Gulf breeze. No visit. No love. Just the twist. In Burning Viper. I torched my own shot at the top, no corner office. No redemption arc. But scrolling X that night. From a motel in Tampa. I saw the ripple. Whistleblowers rising. Data laws tightening. A world a hair less surveilled. Was it worth it? Ask the forums. Half hail me as hero, half as hack.
Ethan?
He rebuilt smaller, quieter, sending postcards from Silicon Beach, bills paid. Yours, Sarah? Thriving, they say. Another wedding on the horizon.
Me?
I'm the ghost now, flipping burgers in a strip mall, plotting nothing but the next shift. Revenge ends in debate, not applause, right or wrong, win or wipe out. In America, that's the real hook. You pay forever, and the crowd picks sides.